2x2 Hands of Blue. But what happened to the duo? Hello all, Rick here with a Firefly video this week, looking into a question that nagged at the back of my mind. What happened to the two agents who were pursuing Simon and River Tam? The last time we see them in an episode is in Ariel, when the crew is almost caught by the Alliance after Jane betrayed Simon and his sister. By the time we get to the Serenity film, which I believe in universe is under a year from where the series ends, these two pursuers are out of the picture and the Alliance has stepped up its game by dispatching the Operative. Not that I'm complaining. Chiwetel Ejiofor's surgically calm but violent assassin was a great foil for the crew, Malcolm in particular, but I am curious to find out what happens to the others. I guess one of the many casualties of the series being cut short. So, the two suited stalkers were officially dressed in neat suits, with the only outstanding feature being the skin-tight gloves of blue material that they wore, which gave them a sterilised look. They were consistently unflustered and implacable with their features. They also had a lot of clearance, access, and gadgets seemingly beyond the recognition of Common Alliance guards. It seems their edict was to retrieve River Tam and ensure that any compromises she may bring about were dealt with. During Serenity, we learn that River's telepathic abilities inadvertently read the minds of higher-ups in the Alliance, and as such, she was exposed to secrets that were never to be made public. Because of this, anyone who ever spoke to River or Simon was to be killed before they could spread anything that River may have uttered. Extreme, but this is the same Alliance that gassed an entire planet, so hey. They clearly have a super high level of Alliance clearance and cover-up potential behind them. Within the show, this is all we get, but from the comic book, Those Left Behind, we get a resolution to this particular story arc, as these agents catch up to the Serenity at last, as well as some more details on just who and what they are. It's revealed that those blue gloves that we see are in fact simply the visible parts of an entire bodysuit, at least the top of one. The gear is worn underneath their clothes and equally skin tight, but it has several inlaid and riveted details. These suits were suspected to offer some high degree of defence from whatever material they were made from, but this has led some to speculate that they are in fact cyborgs in nature, if not completely artificial. Well, the premise for this is that these suits are in fact their outer layers of skin, and that their artificial nature explains their immunity to the sonic devices that they were fond of, as well as their inscrutable expressions. It's also been suggested that they don't work directly for the Alliance, unlike the Operative, but are instead on the chain of the Blue Sun Corporation. The Blue Sun is a verse-spanning organisation that has its tendrils in most trade and commerce sectors. As such a large organisation, it naturally has numerous divisions that are all doing their own thing, from food suppliers to the colonies to corporate espionage. Their enormous wealth, in turn, gave them great influence among the politicians of the verse, and it was widely accepted that they were a corrupt organisation, but one too big to be brought under control. If these blue hands are indeed some products of high-end Blue Sun espionage, that could mean that the Blue Sun was involved in the academy that messed with River and other candidates' minds. It seems odd that these agents were sent by the Alliance to deal with the Tams if they were Blue Sun, unless that company already had a vested interest in them, especially with River's siphoned secrets at play. This is further bolstered by what we see in Those Left Behind, as they are referred to as independent contractors, not Alliance agents. Personally, I suspect that the Academy was a joint operation run by the Blue Sun Corporation, but with Alliance off-the-books backing. This would seem to be supported by something said when Simon Tam was busting River out of the Academy. Dr. Matthias says, "I was told the Alliance's support for the project was unanimous," suggesting that this is not a strictly Alliance operation, just one backed by them. Blue Sun, or Alliance operatives, the enigmatic individuals definitely were involved in the Academy, as River seemed to know them and their presence from before, citing the rhyme that gave them their name before she had even seen them. So, after Ariel, what happened to her pursuers? They continued to try to keep their ears to the ground for the location of the Serenity, and their following of the chain brought them to Whitefall, the fourth moon of Athens in the Georgia system, the one owned by Patience in episode 1. Here, they meet up with Agent Dobson, the Alliance undercover Fed from the same episode. In this comic at least, he survived the shot to the eye and had it cybernetically patched up before going AWOL as a mercenary. They team up with him, and it turns out he's been working on a revenge plan against Mal for some time, so their goals are more or less aligned. Eventually, they take Dobson's vessel to the Serenity to capture River and Simon, while Dobson takes his crew to ambush the rest while they're on a job looting the site of the Battle of Sturges. Short story shorter, they manage to board the Serenity through the cargo bay floor hatch, but River senses them coming, giving Simon scant time to react, making his way to the cargo bay just in time to surprise one of them with one of Jane's bars. Kaylee then secures it and keeps it locked until they have to return to their docked vessel. However, Serenity manages to jump away, and the proximity to the Firefly's engines burns out the crappy Dobson ship and kills them. The Alliance learns of their deaths, and then decides to pass on the mission to the Operative. There also was a book released called Firefly Generations, which unfortunately is not the Star Trek crossover I'd been hoping for, but does shed some more light on the Hands of Blue agents with a second pair, this time a female duo. In this narrative set before those left behind, we learn that they are in constant telepathic contact with their partner to the extent that they think of themselves as we, not individuals. This might also explain how River was able to sense their approach. She read their activity as they came closer, which unnerved her even more. These two were stationed aboard an Alliance ship in order to watch over another of the Academy's children, the first called Silas, from afar, and were unnaturally dedicated to their task and routine in their daily activities. Almost robotic in their adherence to order, but they are emotional. This particular duo were actually created after this Silas, but have been alive for years. Again, it's so vague. The way they are described does refer to them as not quite human anymore, but it's not clarified if they have been altered in a similar way to the Academy children, or if they genuinely are now cybernetic in nature. I think this all ties together in some way. The fact that the Operative in Serenity refers to River without surprise as a psychic, and she is called a reader and a seer by Mal, shows that in some fashion telepathic powers are not unheard of in the verse. So perhaps these blue-handed independent contractors are not of the Alliance, but created through the morality-lacking but egregiously rich Blue Sun Corporation for their own use. The Alliance gets wind of the type of operations the notorious business is conducting in secret, and brings them on board by financing further and more invasive experiments such as the Academy children and borrowing the use of their existing contractors. Following the hints and the post-series media, it seems to be that the Alliance was in bed with the Blue Sun Corporation and sharing their experimentation in making people better. That about covers everything I could learn of the Hands of Blue from Firefly. The narrative continued in expanded media such as books and comics, and as sad as it is, it's probably the only continuation it's going to get. Overall, I found the deaths of the original two in those left behind to be rather unsatisfying, but it's because of the unresolved mystery more than the actual characters. Because let's face it, the Hands of Blue had little to no character anyway, besides being surreal. The Generations book was a solid read that added a fair amount to the origin through the introduction of another pair, where they basically persist on a standby state of routine until they are needed, but it still hasn't answered every question. But maybe one day. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video. Now, I've been Rick, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.